5 minutes after 10 o'clock. It is time for Ocala Magazine Radio. Kelly Hart is in the studio. Good morning, Kelly. How you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
Pretty good. Nice Friday. You look nice.
Thank you.
Mother's Day coming up.
Yes.
So happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, it's a very exciting weekend. It's been a very exciting week. Lots of things have happened.
Oh, yeah. Sad as well as exciting, right?
Well, yes, some very tragic things,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
In my personal world, some really exciting things.
What happened? What's happened?
Well, I think it's always the first show of the new issue that's always my favorite because I get to talk about the new issue.
Okay.
And so the new issue of Ocala Magazine came out. It started circulating yesterday. It's gorgeous, if you have not seen it yet.
Ooh, who's on the cover? Who's that?
This is a stock model. This is not someone local. Okay, so.
If she's listening,
But
we meant nothing by that.
Yes, you're gorgeous. You look fantastic. But it's a great, great issue. It's our May issue. There's several different features in there. One of them is our Every Woman feature. We talk about women in our community that seem to be able to do 1,000 things. How do they find the time? How are they able to balance all of those things?
Right. Well, you're one of them. How do you do it?
Well, that's kind of how it came about. Jesse, our creative director, and I were talking about how do we, we're moms and we are, spouses or significant others, and we have jobs and we're in the community, and there's so many things that we do, and sometimes we sleep. And we have hobbies and crafts and arts and things that we like to do, and how do we manage to do it all? And so that kind of is what motivated that article, and we reached out to some women in the community that we felt were really good examples of the Every Woman. And I guess everybody has their own way. Time management is one thing. Some people are very blessed with help. I know, for example, my mom and dad are super helpful when it comes to my daughter. So if I have something pressing that I have to get done as a priority or responsibility, they are always helpful in making sure that I'm able to balance my work-life schedule very well.
And just my 2 cents in observation is that it's always ironic when you see like a group of moms who have an issue that they really want somebody to hear their opinion on. So they'll get together, they'll have a little caravan, they'll drive up to Tallahassee, and then they'll be so ready to tell whoever it is, a state representative, the governor, or whatever. And then the first thing they'll say is, I know you're a busy man, but can we have a half hour of your time?
Right.
And I think to myself, he is not as busy as you ladies are.
Yeah,
there's no way.
There's no way.
But you are bowing down to him, and trust me, you ladies are way busier.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got a desk, and they've got toys on that desk.
Yeah.
And they play with the toys, okay?
Yeah, and I'm sure that they have people they can call on. Make this call for me. Make this coffee for me.
Of course.
And so it's very different in a woman's world. And not that I'm trying to bash men, because there are a lot of men out there that are playing mom roles in some cases and are multitasking and multifaceted and have several businesses. But I can only talk about what we know, and that is a woman we feel like superwoman sometimes, and how do we do it? So it's a really great article written by Kara Pound. She's one of our new writers. We're excited to have her on board. And the ladies that participated were just amazing. Really, really diverse, creative. They do all kinds of things. And the irony was when I reached out to Kara and said, okay, Kara, this is the idea for this article, and I want you to contact these ladies, but keep in mind, they're very busy.
They're very busy.
So good luck in trying to hammer down a time where they're not busy to do an article about how busy they are.
But isn't it nice for the ladies to be recognized as being busy? Because being busy means you're making a contribution.
Absolutely.
And the contribution, this is Mother's Day weekend, so we can say nice things about men next month. But,
sure.
But I think the one thing that we don't do, and maybe we don't need to, but we don't give awards. There's no trophies. There's nobody come to your house, Kelly, and say, you know what? We've been watching you from a UFO,
yeah,
and we notice you're doing a lot of stuff, and here's your trophy.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, so we don't get trophies. I would say probably our trophy is when someone compliments us on how well behaved our child is, or for example, if someone tells me, your daughter is so well behaved, she's so well mannered, I'm like, okay, that's award enough for me, because that means I'm doing something.
And smart.
Right. Yes. So those kinds of things are our awards. They're not tangible, but it certainly is nice to hear it.
Yeah.
And I encourage people, if now's the time, if you know somebody who's out, a woman that's out in the community doing great things, and she's a mom, take a minute. She doesn't have to be your mom for you to recognize her.
Yeah.
She could just be a mom, or even a motherly figure. in the community or to somebody, maybe like a big sister type or a role model. Just, hey, you're doing a really fantastic job.
And you do this, and you need it in return too. We need to have another magazine that recognizes you, because you do. And when you recognize the women in your article that you're referring to, that's kind of a way of saying, here's your trophy. It's an article. It's public recognition of some good things that you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
And some honest work.
Yeah.
You know, when it was Robin's 10th year here, I asked a lot of people, yourself included, and thank you for calling in. And that was just kind of my way of saying, you know what, you do so much. There's no way. There's no trophy. So having you and everybody else who called in, that was...
And it's nice. It's nice to recognize people. In fact, in my editor's note this month, because it's also our Women of Influence issue, my editor's note, when I started thinking about what could I write about for my editor's note this month, I took from the Women of Influence, and it's about the woman who I'm most influenced by, which is my mother. And so when I started writing about how she's influential, it's not money, it's not fancy things. She's not out protesting. She's not out, donating money, and she's not at galas and things like that. And it talks about she's at Bible studies and football games and very minuscule things that you hardly ever see her, but her influence on me is bigger than any amount of money or anything else that could possibly exist. So it was very nice to be able to take that opportunity to honor my mom in that way, with it being Mother's Day.
Sure.
And the Women of Influence issue, and it's her birthday Sunday. It's like...
Oh, nice.
I know, the double gift.
Can I ask you about your mom?
Sure.
Tell me about your mom.
Okay, well, my mom's originally from Pensacola, but moved here when she was very young with her family. She is the youngest of 4 children, and my grandparents have been married for buku years. And
What's your mom's name?
Moved here. Mary.
Mary. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And she's just fantastic. I mean, growing up, my sister and I were lucky enough to have her stay at home. So, and I even hit on this a little bit in the editor's note about how she was at everything. I mean, she to me is the every woman. I don't even know how she did it, especially because I would have something, my sister would have something, my dad might have something. There was always something. It was just like she was everywhere.
Wow.
She didn't miss anything, even silly things, like that I thought, why does she even want to come? But she was everywhere all the time. And that kind of stuff rubs off, because now when Lily has something, even something really minor, it's major. We make a major deal out of it, and I have to be there. My sister, is the same way. Her daughter's younger. She's not as involved in things yet, but that's just the way our family is. Everything's a big deal, we're at everything of everybody's. Now she works at Gabriel's Christian Bookstore. She's worked there for several years, managing the bookstore. So, very simple, but, best mom ever, best grandma ever.
Is she an artist?
She's not artistic in the way of painting. That's not her.
So you got
textile.
your art from your dad, or it just was by osmosis?
My mom is creative. She's a decorator.
Okay, all right. Well,
amazing.
That's an art.
Yeah, amazing decorator. I mean, she's stylish from the way she looks, dresses to her home. You go in, it's immaculate. Like someone could go in from Pottery Barn and take pictures and put it in the catalog.
Oh,
it's
really?
That perfect.
Okay.
So she's creative in that way. So we're all creative in some way. It just might be a different medium, but yeah, she's very creative.
Is she a writer? You're a writer, is she?
She's a reader.
A reader.
So she's a reader. So she can sit down and finish a book in a day. Has always been a reader. Always read to us growing up. Made reading very important to all of us. And so anytime I write something, I pass it to my mom so she can read it and give her feedback and help make corrections and things of that nature. So she's the reader, I'm the writer.
Is she the one to impress between the two parents? Psychologists tell us this whenever we have them on. Mm-hmm. We have 2 parents. One of them is the one we try all of our lives to impress. The other one gets our blessings all the time.
Yeah.
The other one is hard to impress.
Yeah. My mom is definitely that one.
Is she?
Yeah. I mean, I'm always trying to, even at 35 years old, I want to make my mom proud. So,
yeah, of course.
So, I mean, it's easy to please your dad. Plus, being a girl, that relationship you have with your dad, you can do no wrong. Your daddy's little girl, you're perfect. But, my mom is someone that I want to impress, and she's more critical. But that's probably why, she's made such an impact because she will say, Kelly, you can improve it. You should do this, or she gives me the good advice.
Wow.
Instead of just kind of letting me be a screw up, which is really nice.
You are a beautiful lady,
Thank you.
Kelly. And are you hearing that coming from me? I'm a man, and you probably think, well, that's what men say. But I really mean it in the truest sense of it, and in the deeper sense of it. And that, I think, you could probably stems from your mom, stems from your dad. I'm not leaving him out, so anyway, you're a testament to her. To her.
Yes.
Period.
Thank you.
There's no more words.
Thank
there.
you. Well, I mean, she's very proud. Working at Ocala Magazine has made her very proud. I mean, she looks forward to reading the things that I write. And because of all of those values she's instilled in me, when I write for the magazine or through the magazine, that's what I try to do, is to take, those values and those feelings and try to write for Ocala in that way.
So when you were, the ladies who you feature in the article, are they all moms?
They are all moms.
They're all moms. Because I know there's plenty of women out there who say, I'm not a mom, but I am contributing to this community.
Sure.
And you have that segment of the population that feels maybe left out on Mother's Day. I don't know, but obviously everybody's doing their share.
Right. Well, I don't think you necessarily have to be a mom to do all of those responsibilities. I mean, I think there are women who may not have their own biological children, but they find something to fill that void. It might be their job. It might be a charity. It might be foster children. It could be pets. I mean, they do find a way, I think, to still nurture in some way. And so that's why I say if someone isn't a mom necessarily, this is still a great weekend to say, you are a great motherly figure in this way, and you're doing a great job, and, congratulate them for that, or at least mention it to them. Because it's very nice for someone to reach out and say, you're doing a fantastic job. Yeah. Especially as a mom, because how do we measure that sometimes? And so we wonder, am I doing a really good job?
There's no way to measure it.
There's no way to measure it,
No way.
So it's a really great opportunity in this article to talk about those women, to also talk about the women of influence. And then we also did a fun feature called Mars versus Venus.
A man versus women thing?
Yes.
Okay.
I had picked up John Gray's book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
All right.
And I started reading it, and I also have played, I don't know if you've ever played the board game that was based off of John Gray's book. Okay. So you have your women on one side and your men on one side, and you have these cards, and you will ask the opposing sex, and then they will answer how they think the men would answer. And that's how you get your points.
Okay.
And so some of the questions, what I did was, after starting to read the book, I thought, it would be interesting to take those very same questions and put them out on social media and let the women have an opportunity not just to answer the questions, but to comment underneath with their thoughts or opinions, and then kind of dissect that. And then next month we will do part 2 of the series, where we've now allowed the men to answer these very same questions in a comparison. And so I've gotten all my feedback from the men.
I want to hear the questions.
And I won't be able to talk about the men's answers until June and do a comparison, but here are some of the questions.
Okay,
I put out 30 questions.
This is you asked women these questions.
I asked women these
All right.
questions.
All right.
And of course, all the answers were anonymous, and it was through social media. Okay, so
Stay anonymous on social media. Everybody knows it's me when I post.
Well, luckily, it was through a link that let them give their
see.
feedback
I
without
see.
being
Okay.
identified. So, for example, let's see. I am most impressed when my date is smart, funny, or generous. So these were all questions, and there was 3 options for every question.
Right.
Women lose the most points with men when they criticize, complain, or gossip. So we're, so they're out there answering.
So this is women's feelings.
This is women answering the way they think.
The way they think men will answer.
The way they think men would answer.
Oh, really? Okay, gosh, okay.
Men fantasize most often about voluptuous women, fame, or wads of cash. And some of them...
Fame isn't even in the equation.
Right? I know. So some of
The other two are pretty much half and half.
Some of the feedback I got from the women so far were, this was really difficult. Some of them are so close or so similar, or do I answer this based on just me personally, or women in general, or men in general? So it did take some thinking. If I had to choose just one vow for my mate, it would be honor me, obey me, or cherish me.
Cherish, of course. That's an easy one.
that would have been that was my
honor
answer.
and cherish is kind of the same thing, though.
Right. Well, that was, these are not my questions.
Yeah,
Some people are like, Kelly,
yeah.
where'd you get these questions? I have to remind them. These came directly from the game, from John Gray's book. So
Although it might be fun to have obey me.
that would be really nice.
That might be a fun
Sometimes
game.
sometimes I would absolutely love that one. When a woman says to a man, let's be friends, she means, let's be friends.
Of course.
I'm involved with someone else, or you're not my type.
Either or. Any of the above. Oh, well, you know what it means? It means no sex. Let's be friends means no sex.
Right. Let's just be friends. Stop calling me, please. Well, what's funny was not only did I put these out on social media, but I asked some of my close friends, both male and female, and I would read them off and go down the list. And what I was really trying to do was get feedback, not just on their answers, but on their overall thought of the question. Like, for example, I asked one of the guys, let me see, where is it? Something about how many times a week would do most men want to have sex? And of course his answer was like, with the same woman, or
Oh, jeez.
I know.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, so this is great. This is the feedback though that I'm getting.
Right.
Who talks more about their relationships? Single women, married women, or divorced women?
I would say single women.
That was a really close answer, and it probably just depended on the women that were answering in their
And maybe
situations,
who they're with, yeah.
and
Who they're with.
maybe who they're with. But the results of that question were married women by 42%.
Married women talk more about their relationships?
That's what women say.
Really?
42% of the women
Well,
that
they would know.
participated.
They would know.
Yeah. And let's see, what was another one? Most men admire other men for sleeping with a sexy girl, dating a pretty lady, or marrying a nice woman.
Marrying a nice woman.
Yes, that was the
Has to be.
52.9% of women agree with you on that.
Oh, really? Okay.
It was really fun to go through and get the results and then work backwards and talk about why maybe the women answered the way that they did and how different men and women are and why we are. And of course, some of it was just basic science. Our brains are different, so we're wired different, which when I laid it out and started talking about how our brains work different and which parts of the brains are bigger in women versus men that control
Right.
different things,
Right.
it made sense. So it's kind of like, no one's at fault in all of this mass, chaos and confusion when it comes to relationships. It's just simply, we can blame it on our brain.
But if sex and love are two important things in a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and they are, then I can tell you that if a man is not in love with you, then after he's had sex with you and wants you to get out of there,
Mm-hmm.
if that has happened, now I wouldn't recommend that because I do believe in waiting. But at the same time, I think that happens. He has no care for you at all.
Right.
It's like men want love too.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
if you have a guy who after you've had sex with says, you know what, let's go to a movie, let's hang out, let's do something, the whole cuddling thing, that's debatable, but just stay with me, that means, okay, this guy must really like me.
Well, and I talk about that because of course I was reading a bunch of blogs and online research about men and women and the difference, and there's no answer. So I wasn't necessarily looking for the answer because clearly there will never be the answer, but only people's suggestions and
But there is an answer. I think there is an answer to that, though.
What is the answer?
The answer is this.
Okay, here we go. Because
The answer is this.
Okay.
Here's the problem that I see with men and women answering questions about men and women. We will always answer about every woman, or you will answer about every man. You don't need every man. No, we don't need every woman. You only really need one.
Right.
So the truth is that the answer is not how does every man feel about any question, but how does the one man feel that is potentially going to be your man.
Right.
Because then once the two of you fit his needs, he fits your needs, guess what? Bingo, you're done.
Sure.
You can move on.
And I do agree with that. I do agree with that.
You stop obsessing with how the other sex lives.
Right. Well, and people will always voice their opinion and talk about other people's relationships, and they're doing this wrong and they're doing that wrong. But if it's right for them, for those two people, then that's really all that matters.
Because when your little girl gets old enough to be interested in this conversation,
30, okay.
and you say to her, and she says to you, men are all so stupid, they're all so selfish, they're all so whatever, you could say, well, wait a minute, you don't want to marry all men.
Right, exactly.
But there's one out there that will be the one you want.
Sure. And that's really the ultimate thing. And it's for men and women both. Because what I did find, women are always talking about love. We just want love. We want love. We want storybook love and fairy tale love. And men really do too. We just go about finding it in a much different way. And one of the researchers I read online really put it out there very clearly. And I think this is where a lot of women mess up, because we like to interpret what guys say. And what he says is, men say what they mean. If he doesn't call you, or if he says, I'm too busy, men will usually kind of mean what they say. But we like to take the 3 text message sentences he sends us and get with our girlfriends and dissect it and say, what do you think he means by well, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
He said later. Does that mean later today? Does that mean later this week? I don't know. Do you think he's putting me off?
So why can't you ask
And we
him?
stress about it. When what we should really do is just take literally what men say. If a man says, I care about you, I love you, chances are, and I know there are men out there that will throw words around in an effort for some selfish reasons or goals.
Right.
But ultimately, men, they kind of mean what they say, and women want to interpret that. Sometimes we want a guy to like us, and even though he's given us all the signs and all the messages that he doesn't, we will take it and we will find a way to keep kind of hanging on. When we should just say, hey, you know what? He's not really that into me. I'm gonna move along and find the guy that is. And that can be a really big problem. And I didn't really think about that until I started looking into the differences between men and women, and the fact that, we're not necessarily wrong and men aren't necessarily wrong. It's just the way that we communicate or understand one another.
But see, it doesn't really matter, because you're saying men again, and that's pretty much the whole half of the human race.
Well, yes.
Or whatever. Unless you're in Russia, and then you're one third of the human race.
Yeah. If you're out there looking, for surface relationships, then it's a whole different set of rules. But if you really get down to looking for love with one person.
You're looking for somebody to be a friend with. I have said this to guys. I don't know if this applies to women, but don't, find a girl who, if she was a guy, you'd be friends with her. Mm-hmm. And then you can back up and say, do you like the way she looks? Do you like the way she talks? But the first and foremost thing should be, can you be friends with her?
Well, that's actually one of the questions on here. It talks about, in marriage, it is most important to be best friends, great lovers, or super teammates. And I think all of those things are important. But let's see, that was question 5. 72.4% of our women that answered said best friends. And although I cannot say what the men said,
you can't say, or you don't know?
I can't say. I know.
Oh, you know.
I already know. What I did
Well, this man would agree with those women.
And I think that that's true. If I think about my greatest relationships, it is the people in my life that I've been friends with for a long period of time. There's just some comfort and security about it.
Right.
You can say things, you can get in arguments, you can be yourself, and that relationship it's everlasting.
And when you get there and you're with that person and you are making your way through life, mm-hmm. and all the hills and valleys that life has to offer, and you somehow figure out a way to get through it together, and you're there for each other, as the vows say, through sickness and in health. Mm-hmm. That's what it's about.
Well, I think so. Yeah. I definitely agree so. And it'll be very interesting next month when I do part 2 of this feature, because even some of the answers that I got from the guys really surprised me, and in a really positive way. But I was really surprised, and some of the feedback that I got, not just the answers, but like I said, underneath each question there was an opportunity for people to leave comments. And some of the comments, I was like, wow, that's really great from a man's perspective. It gave me a lot of hope about guys.
Hugh Hefner and that mentality made us misunderstand you and made you misunderstand us.
Yes. Well, and the girls in those magazines didn't help our case too, because it kind of presented this image of what we should look like, and
it made you women think that us guys were only after that.
Exactly.
We did like the pictures, though.
Yes, absolutely.
But we weren't
Understandable.
necessarily looking for that to be the mom of our children, though.
Yes, understandable.
Yeah.
Well, I encourage everybody to find an Ocala magazine. The May issue is now out circulating. It's a fantastic issue. Next month is our Men of Influence issue, so look for that. And please find us on Facebook and like us, where we're always sharing new and interesting information about Ocala magazine.
Great magazine, great conversation. Kelly Hart, thank you, as
Thanks,
always.
Larry.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
By the way, sorry
Thank you.
for the cough. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
On the next Voice of Ocala, it's Community Gazette Day. Buddy Martin and I are live at the TPC Sawgrass for the Players Championship, brought to you by Golden Ocala Golf and Equestrian Club. We'll have